So I was a very mischievous kid. I was always like left to my own devices, went to play, didn't really care about school. And it was O levels, the O level examinations, GCE O level examinations. That was when I was 16 years old. That I realized that all my friends suddenly disappeared because all of them, either by their parents or by their teachers, were told that you had to study for the O levels. And my parents also gave me that kind of pressure. And so I was like, oh man, I'm 16 years old and suddenly like there's no play anymore. There's always this focus on exams and studies. But so I told myself, hey, there's nobody around. There's only studies now. It's only 1 year. Let's do it. After we get this O levels over and done with, after that, life will be great. And so I did that. Thankfully, did well enough in my O levels. Graduated from the GCE O level exams, and then did well enough to go to a junior college where I could study for my A level exams. The very first day I got to a junior college, I was shocked and very, very disappointed. I felt like whatever I promised myself that life would be different wasn't true at all. When I entered a junior college, it felt very regimental. Uniforms, for example, you had to wear uniforms. Even in junior college, you still had to study. In fact, you had to study even more. And it was so competitive because everybody around you suddenly were from different schools, and now everybody's competing with each other. And I just hated it, right? Because I thought that would be the end of studying already, but now it was actually more intense studying. And at that point of time, I knew that I wanted to learn more about computers and technology and programming. So I went around looking around for alternatives. And that was when I started exploring polytechnics. And those polytechnics had a diploma program. So I went to the various polytechnics, seeing what they had available. Eventually, I found Temasek Polytechnic. Absolutely love that place. The campus is no other, none of the other polytechnics in Singapore. Is a lot wider. The view is amazing. The very first moment you step onto the campus, you see through it to the reservoir. It's like, wow. So I really like that place, the vibes of it. When I spoke to the lecturers, they were amazing. They were very knowledgeable. And I felt like, I could really learn a lot about technology there. So I had to convince my parents. Yeah. The whole reason is society always has this perception that you got to get a university degree. And my parents definitely wanted the best for us. They didn't want their children, like me and my siblings, to go through whatever they went through, right? Because life was hard and tough. They basically graduated from primary school and then started working already. And they weren't working at high-paying professional jobs. They basically just did whatever jobs were available, and it was tough. So my parents didn't want us to go through that, so they really wanted us to get a degree so that our lives could be different from theirs. And when I told them I don't want to get a degree, I don't want to go to JC, they were like, "Oh my God, why? You'll be you have this pathway ahead of you. Why are you giving it up?" So I had to convince them and promise them that I will go to a polytechnic, I'll take my diploma, but I'll make sure I'll do well enough so that I could go to a university after that. That was the only reason they let me do that. And yeah, I was ecstatic. But that was my first major life decision.
Why do you feel at that point of time that you feel so compelled that you would want to make your own decision? Then
It's so in life we always have push and pull factors whenever we talk about decision making, right? Either there's something that attracts us to make that decision, or there's something that pushes us away, right? We are either getting away from pain or we are being pulled by attraction, right? For me, it was definitely being pushed by pain. I didn't want to go to a JC. And there was some pull factor also because, there was a place that I could study about programming. The vibes were great. I loved the whole environment. And so it was a combination of these push and pull factors that let me say, this is something that I really want. And I couldn't see myself doing 2 years in a junior college. So I'm very, very thankful though, because that one decision allowed me to meet my business partner on the very first day of Polytechnic.
Can you share more about that? How do you meet?
So I went there alone because all my friends were either in JC or some were in polytechnics, but I didn't know them that well. My close friends were all in a junior college. So and in the polytechnic, there are so many courses also, right? So everybody went everywhere. For me, I wanted to study programming. I was like probably the only person from my school that went there. And I remember the very first day of my orientation at Temasek Polytechnic. It was in this auditorium. There was a stage and there was like rows of seats, right? I went there like feeling very lost. Everybody was foreign and new, and there were people that were in groups, and I was all alone. So I just went down the steps and I went to find a available seat, right? So there was this one seat where this guy was at, and I went down, sat down beside him, and just introduced myself, said hi and all that. And that person turned out to be my business partner. So I didn't know it at that point of time, but since that day we started like becoming friends, we started hanging out, we started doing everything in school together. Assignments, group work, projects, studying for exams, everything we did together. And so we formed a very, very strong working relationship. We understood how each other worked, we understood our work ethic. Both of us had this like obsession about doing well in the diploma because our parents wanted us to get a degree. And so that working relationship in school translated into something during the school holidays. I was still running my freelance web design business at that point in time. And I was telling him, hey man, why not join me, right? Like, it's better paying than like a part-time job, plus you get time flexibility. And he was like, yeah, sure man, let's do it. So 1 + 1 is not two, more than two. You get more clients, more projects, and basically get leverage. It went well. We did it for a few months, and then we felt like we were hitting a plateau because of the constraints of time. Like the juggling of school and work was very, very difficult. So we had to figure out what to do. And we didn't know what it was called back then. But essentially, we went through a business pivot. Right. We were pivoting from a professional services company where we did web design projects for clients to a product-based business, which was hosting, web hosting, email hosting, cloud hosting. And that was the business that, started Vodian and that 17 years that I went through.